omits telling about the Lord's Supper. Verses 3 through 7. Jesus, knowing that the Father had given all things unto his hand, and that he was come from God and went to God. A better translation would be, since Jesus knew that the Father had given all things into his hand, that he was come from God and that he was going to God. It is restated that what he is doing is because he is returning to the Father. That is important. Verse 4 through 5. He riseth from supper, and laid aside his garments, and took a towel, and girded himself. After that he poureth water into a basin, and began to wash the disciples' feet, and to wipe them with the towel wherever he was girded. He lays aside his outer garment, that is, he takes off the robe that he is wearing. Then he takes a linen cloth, and he girds himself with it. This is such a strange thing. What he does, he takes the place of a servant. He is girded with the towel of service. He is ready to wash their feet. In studying Exodus 21, we learn of how a law regarding slaves, a Hebrew slave served his master 6 years, and he could go free on the seventh year. If during that time he had taken a wife and had had children, the master would free him, but not his family. However, the slave could choose to stay. If he loved his master and his family, he could stay with them. Then the master would back him up to a doorpost and bore his ear with an awl, which would identify him as a voluntary slave forever. Although he could have gone out free, he stayed because of love. Our Lord Jesus came down to this earth, took upon him our humanity, and was made in the likeness of a servant. He did all this because he loves us. He could have gone out free, but he died on the cross to provide salvation for us. He did this to establish a wonderful relationship for us and to make it possible for us to have fellowship with him. He would become a slave because he loved us. In fact, the awing out of an ear of a slave, me and Bill used to, Bill had an earring, and he said that made him a slave for Christ, was his excuse. But really, the awing out of the ear is translated over in the New Testament as being crucified. And so it's the same thing. Jesus crucified himself and made him a love slave, because he loved us so much. Forever he is our slave and our servant. John chapter verses 6 through 7. Then cometh he to Simon Peter, and Peter said unto him, Lord, dost thou wash my feet? Jesus answered and said unto him, What I do thou knowest not, but thou shalt know hereafter. Some people say that this is a sacrament, and that we should practice foot washing. I see nothing wrong with practicing this if the spiritual means is not lost. Others say that this is a lesson in humanity and is an example to us. There is nothing wrong with that interpretation, but if I do not think it goes deep enough. Peter certainly could see this was an example of humanity. Yet the Lord said, What I do, thou knowest not now, but thou